Okay, I'll be happy to. Our speaker today, Gary Everhart, is speaking about CART. And for you who remember our blue buckets when we were meeting live, we collected money for CART with those blue buckets. Certainly right now, since we're not meeting, I'm sure we would welcome any contributions that people could send to Hope, and we could collect during the meantime. CART stands for Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust. Gary has spoken to our club several times about the CART and has done an outstanding job each time that he has spoken. And I look forward today to his presentation. Gary has been a member of the Guilford Rotary since 2003 and served on the board as New Generations Chair for several years. In 2011, he was asked to represent District 7690 for the CART Fund, and he has been actively promoting the CART Fund since then. Gary has spent over 2 decades in the life and health industry, running his company, Family Security Corporation. Gary represents Thrivent Financial, a faith-based financial service company that helps members be wise with their money so they can be more generous. Gary has been married for 16 years to Carrie, and they have 2 children, Emerson 10 and Oliver 8. Gary was born and raised in Chapel Hill, and he's a big UNC fan. And he said that he's going to be Saturday evening in front of the TV watching the UNC Duke, D-O-O-K as he spelled it, game. And then he said he'll be at church on Sunday repenting. So I present to you Gary Everhart.
Larry, thank you for that kind introduction. I see everybody clapping. Thank you for being kind with the with muting. But I might call on a couple of you here throughout the meeting today. I see some longtime friends and folks that I've known for quite some time. I see my good buddy Deb there. Larry, again, thank you for the introduction. Hey, Kim, thank you for reaching out today as well. Wayne, you're looking really good holding that saber or whatever that, wait, that is a statue of you, right? And then, hey, Karen, nice to see you, honey. Now, for those of you who might hover over, or actually, you know what? I do see that, that my name does say Gary Everhart today here. By the magic of technology, I had to run home. Thank you, Hope, for that. It did say Carrie a minute ago. And so for those of you who know my wife, I'm sure you would much rather see her today. I wish she was here right now that she could just say, oh, wait. There she is. I had to run home from the office today. Our Spectrum Wi-Fi went out and I got a notification that it was going to be back up about 1:30 today. So not only am I talking to you from Carrie's computer here, unfortunately, I don't have my most recent PowerPoint, but if I could get the option to share my screen today, that would be great. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint from a couple years ago and just kind of hit some highlights, talk to you folks about what's going on with CART today since the last time we got together. Obviously, I want to offer blessings for each of your families with what's going on with COVID today. And ironically, one of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to Alzheimer's is also something that could help protect us from COVID. So I'm going to get something out of the way real quick. Recently, some studies showed that people, most of the folks who were succumbing to COVID had very low levels of vitamin D in their bloodstream. So I would encourage each of you to take a little extra vitamin D. On a day like today, you could probably go out and get a little more sun in your face. I have actually been talking about anti-inflammatories for quite some time, and apparently turmeric, which is an Indian spice, is something that might be good not only against COVID, but also against Alzheimer's. Now, the first few slides of my presentation, when it comes to, oh, let's see here, where did it go? When it comes to Alzheimer's in general, let's see here. Now I've got to do a couple things here. But when it comes to Alzheimer's in general,
hey, Gary, we are not seeing your screen. Are you intending?
Yeah, I know. I'm on my wife's, and I apologize. I sent the PowerPoint to her, and now I'm actually trying to find it on her screen. So if you can hold tight for me for just a second, hopefully I'll be able to share that. But just in regards to Alzheimer's in general, everybody here knows what Alzheimer's is. Everybody here has had someone who they have. Let's see here. If I go to desktop one. Hey, Carrie, can you come here for just a sec? Safari, PowerPoint. I think that's what I want to share. I'm not seeing the actual PowerPoint on my computer here. But again, don't have to show you the slides, just some fancy stuff that has this on it, the blue pen, talking about what CART's done over the years. Just a quick history, CART was founded in 1995 at the Sumter, South Carolina Rotary Club. Took some time. It's now expanded all over the Southeast. We're getting some headways into some of the other regions that are out there for Rotary. Folks like me in all of the various districts are going out and doing Zoom meetings right now. And of course, since we can't get together, it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to collect coins this way. But I'm just going to tell you something real quick here. I want to do something fun with this club today. I'm going to offer a challenge at the end for everyone who's on this Zoom, and maybe some folks who are not on the Zoom as well. But basically, what I wanted to share with you today, from 1995 until 1999, it took the few clubs that were raising money for CART to raise $100,000. That money was given to Dr. Gary Smalley down at Emory in Atlanta. He parlayed that $100,000 original grant into over $7 million that was given to him by the National Institutes of Health back in 2014. It's the seed money that we give today that is helping us fund some incredible research for Alzheimer's. About 3 years ago, we lost the founder of CART Fund by the name of Roger Ackerman. Roger was the guy who started it down in Sumter back in 1995. And Roger's goal was two things. Number one, always, always, always give 100% of the money that we raised through CART to research. And we have continued doing that to this day. We will always do that. In fact, one of the ways that we were able to pay, credit card processing fees from people who give online, pay Bill Shillita, who runs all over the Southeast, making some of the presentations for us as well, is we're able to do that through the interest that we made off of deposits that we put in the bank over the years. Anyone here a banker? Anybody? Okay, well, good, because let me tell you something. Everybody knows this. Banks aren't paying much interest right now. So it's been very difficult for us to continue to do that. So we've actually got a second charity that we've set up now, which is, it's actually the opposite of CART. It's called TRACK. Basically, folks can give to that as well, and that helps us to deal with some of the expenses, the ongoing expenses we have. But 100% of the money going directly to research. How incredible is that? One of those situations when you take a look at the different charities that you might support out there, looking at the percentages that they give directly to charities or directly to their research as well, obviously it doesn't get any better than 100%. We want to continue to do that. Roger's second goal was by the year 2020 to raise $1 million. Remember, I told you we raised $100,000 over a 4-year period to start. Well, every year since then, we have been able to get over and over and over what we had provided in the past. And for the first time ever in 2019, in honor of Roger Ackerman, who passed from pancreatic cancer the year before, we were able to hit that $1 million mark. Now you might be thinking, well, Gary, this is great. Sounds awesome. But what exactly are you guys doing? And this is the information that's not on my PowerPoint anyway, that I wanted to share with you today, specifically some of the grant recipients that we had worked with in the past year, that we were able to give $1 million away last year to these folks. Now, let me kind of hit on something too. I mentioned cancer a moment ago. For those of you who are familiar with cancer, have done any type of research on it, you probably understand that there are over 120 different types of cancer. There is no one way to beat cancer. There is no one way currently to beat Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's presents itself in a lot of different ways. There are plaques and tangles and tau and amyloid beta and all the things that I could talk about today, but I'm not going to take your time to do that. There are all kinds of different ways that Alzheimer's presents itself to us. And currently, there are over 700 different types of research that are going on to try to tackle Alzheimer's. So it is an insidious disease. I like to tell folks that it took the life of both of my paternal grandparents. Unfortunately, only one of them was diagnosed with it. And for those of you who might be a caregiver, or Deb, who's been a caregiver in the past as well, you know the toll that it can take on you. So my grandfather had Alzheimer's. He had about a 7-year journey with it. He passed away on Christmas Day of 2008. But I like to tell folks that we lost him in 2006 because at that point he could no longer communicate, and it was just way downhill from there. My grandmother, shortly after his passing, was able to, let's just say, get a little relief from that, but due to the stress and due to some other issues that had come up from the caregiving, she actually needed care for a longer period of time than my grandfather did. And she left us on the day after Mother's Day of 2016, about 7.5 years later, after needing constant round-the-clock care in her home for a couple of years. So that being said, I wanted to get into some of our researchers, what we were able to do this past year. And we met virtually in May, and we will meet again virtually in May of this year due to COVID. Normally we go down to Columbia, South Carolina. We gather as a group. There's also a meeting in Florida as well, but the meeting that I've been to now for the past few years has been in Columbia. All of the folks get together, like me, people who are supporting CART, and then we bring these researchers in. We fly them in from all over the world in some cases. We did speak by phone to a lady in, let's see, Catherine Diaz-Asper from New Zealand, actually. And she has, this is pretty incredible. She was one of our smaller recipients this year of $100,000, but she has been working on a system that can allow us to detect Alzheimer's potentially over voice phone calls. For those of you who are familiar with Ronald Reagan's presidency, he became president, I think, and started his presidency in 1980 and left in 1987 or 88, I guess. From the time early on in his presidency, we have listened to audio tapes of him, and then we've listened to audio tapes of him from later in his presidency. And for those of you, of course, who remember, he did develop Alzheimer's later in life, but he was in the early stages of dementia right before he left. Now, not to the point where he couldn't remember things, but his vocabulary was shrinking. The time that he would take to pause between words and sentences was increasing. And so that's just, to me, that's very interesting. When we think about the technology that we have today, to be able to say, hey, in some instances, we can actually detect early dementia from phone calls, from audio tapes of people. A lady at the University of Kentucky Research Foundation, her name, and I'm going to pronounce it, I will definitely not be able to spell it, but it was Linda Selenica, shared with us about citrullonated tau by the PAD4 pathway. Now, I don't know what that is. You don't know what that is. One of the things that we encourage our researchers to do is to really dumb it down. Larry told you earlier, I went to school at Chapel Hill, so I read on a 5th grade level. I'm just looking around. Is anybody laughing? Is anybody, okay, you're all paying attention. Thank you for that. And we didn't do math at Chapel Hill either, so PAD4, I don't even know what that means. But basically what she's saying is there are certain, the tau that's in our brains, or that we see in the brains of folks with Alzheimer's, is, and when we think about citrullinated, it's basically the way that it reacts in the brain. It's almost like it starts cooking the brain just a bit. And we don't see elevated temperatures in the brain, but we do see the effects of as if our brain was literally being cooked by it. So she's she's doing some research on that. For those of you who may have heard me make this presentation before, you might have heard me talk about microglia. And I'm really fascinated with this because when I was 12 years old and I was a Pop Warner football star, I went through the entire season. I was running back. I never missed a game, never missed a minute. But at the annual banquet, unfortunately, I had a head injury. I smacked one of my buddies across the back of the head and I ran in the opposite direction and I ran into a flagpole and got a little scar right there. Well, there's a good chance that I had a concussion at that point too. They took me to the hospital, stitched me up. That concussion that I had at age 12, within seconds, the little soldiers that are in my brain called microglia went to work. Those microglia actually helped to repair the damage that had been done in my brain. Of course, it took it several weeks before I was probably fully back to normal. Some would argue that I'm still not back to normal yet. But what I would say to that is, as we get older, the microglia that can help us with concussions when we're younger, they actually come to the rescue when it comes to Alzheimer's, but they don't do good. They actually make things worse. So one of the things that we've seen is with certain researchers, can we reprogram the microglia? Can we turn them off? And the Institute for Stem Cell Biology and Regenerative Medicine, Dr. Marius Vernig at the Stanford University School of Medicine is doing just that, to see if the microglia in our brain can be reprogrammed in the event we have the type of damage that we see with Alzheimer's, and can that be something that allows us to have more quality of life at the end of our life. From the Mayo Clinic Department of Neuroscience this year, we had Na Zhao, and she was specifically looking at the APOE4 gene. I don't know if any of you remember or perhaps were present when a couple years ago I first talked about this, but there's some genetic research right now that shows, and by the way, you can do Ancestry.com, you can do 23andMe, and you can actually learn about some predispositions that you might have for certain diseases, illnesses, things that might be genetic. So the APOE4 gene, basically, if you get that from your mother's side and from your father's side, the APOE4 gene, your risk of not just developing Alzheimer's, but developing early onset Alzheimer's actually increases dramatically. So the question there is, could we reprogram these genes? Could we utilize stem cells and grow something called, this was really amazing, and I have this at the office, I would have shown it to you today. It's a little bitty brain. It's just one of those little spongy brains that you get as a gift from somewhere. But we can grow what's called organoids today, or mini brains. We can do that in a Petri dish. And then we can do these tests on that, and we can actually do plasma level tests as well. That not only is beneficial for Alzheimer's, which we all know, but also for Lewy body disease. And finally, that was a $250,000 award to Na Zhao. And the other $250,000 award we had was to Greg Lemke at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies. He received our Ackerman Award, which is not only the biggest monetary award that we have, but the one that's actually awarded to the I guess probably the research that we see maybe has the most promise. He also, and we've recognized this for some time, that there are plaques in our brains that can be formed by the amyloid beta that we see in a lot of Alzheimer's cases. Now, bear with me here for a minute. I'm gonna get a little bit technical. When we take prescription medications today, normally, of course, it goes down into our gut and then it's absorbed into our bloodstream. But there's one problem. We have something in each of us called the blood-brain barrier. Has anybody ever heard of that? Yeah. So the blood-brain barrier is something where the way God created us, where we don't want stuff getting up into our brain from down here. Let's get all that junk that we have to be excreted by our body, and we don't want to get things in the blood and through the into the brain. So that blood-brain barrier has been a big stumbling block for years. How do we get past it? How do we get potentially these prescriptions into the brain. So many of you may be familiar with nanoscience, nanotechnology. That's basically shrinking things down to particles that are so small that they could bypass the blood-brain barrier. So when we see cognitive decline, this is very interesting to me. When we see cognitive decline, especially in a lot of elderly folks, one of the reasons is because they are actually experiencing a breakdown of the blood-brain barrier. And some of those chemicals that we've ingested over the years, or maybe heavy metals, are getting in through that. So the question is, could we potentially utilize a breakdown of the blood-brain barrier? Could we open it and close it to maybe get some of the nutrients in, or some of the prescriptions that some of our researchers are working on? And of course, I could get into a lot of the pharmaceuticals that are out there. There's so many things under trial right now. Unfortunately, the only 2 pharmaceuticals that have been approved right now for Alzheimer's basically do nothing but slow it down. And in some cases, let's just say kind of speeds up the process of the person dealing with Alzheimer's, reverting to childhood, or in some cases, which is the case with my grandfather, the sundowners, where about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, the restless stuff. And we didn't learn until later, after Granddaddy passed away. But apparently for about a year, he would go to bed between 5 and 6 in the evening. He would wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. And his normal routine was, I want my bacon and eggs and sausage gravy and biscuits and whatever it is that he wanted to have for breakfast. And Grandmama got up at 3 o'clock every morning to make that for him. And so learning that was part of her caregiving experience right there was just really heartbreaking for me. I did want to share some cool information today. I also wanted to take a few minutes. I don't know how much time we have out. Maybe can we take 5 minutes for any questions or concerns or anything? And then I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you, people. Are you ready? Any questions from the general field out there right now?
So you guys go ahead and unmute if you have a question for Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, have you all done much research on the effects or benefits of glutathione?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, that's something that I have brain disease, and that's one of the biggies that the doctor I see has me taking is glutathione. A high dose of that, along with the turmeric, the curcumin that you've promoted for years. So you all tell me what you have found out about or know about the glutathione.
Well, specifically, when it comes to glutathione, it's an essential. There are so many different compounds that our brain needs. The omega-3s in the body, and glutathione. And I actually have a list that I'm trying to put my hands on here again. I had to come home today. But yeah, I've got a list right here too. Glutathione is on there, quite a few other things. And as opposed to speaking about that one individually, Karen, because I truthfully, our researchers, what they're doing out there may include glutathione, omega-3s, coenzyme Q10, resveratrol, vinpocetine. I mean, all these things that I'm not a scientist, and I don't play one on TV, so I apologize that I'm maybe not well versed enough to speak to that, but that is definitely something on our list that has shown promise with repairing the brain. Some of the things we want to accomplish, if there's damage in the brain, we want to repair the brain, obviously. One of our researchers several years ago, this was a really good analogy. He basically said Alzheimer's is like this. You throw a party in your house and everybody comes into your house and your house is a wreck, right? So what do? Well, before you go to bed, like my wife Carrie will do, you clean everything up, right? But maybe you just missed a little something. And then the next week you have another party and then everything is just wrecked again, right? And after maybe a year, and let's just say 52 parties every weekend, stuff is starting to really build up into your house. It's hard to continue to clean everything out. And so from that research, we kind of learned that over the years, our body's job is to rid itself of impurities. And we do that by going to the restroom, by sweating. But over time, the buildup of the junk, especially that builds up in our brain, takes its toll. And glutathione is a very potent cleaner, from what I understand, of the brain. And again, you know, and I'm not a doctor, but I do acetyl L-carnitine, huperzine. I mean, I've got all this list of stuff here that I do like to share a little bit of that information with people today. I really wanted to encourage each of you, if you're not taking at least 5,000 IUs daily of vitamin D, not just for COVID, but for your overall health and for really, you know, fighting off any type of infection, I would encourage you to do that. And then obviously the curcumin. Most people who have COVID today, and almost everyone who has Alzheimer's, is B vitamin deficient as well. So a B vitamin supplement would be something great to consider as well. How many people here, just wave at me, I can see all of you here. How many people here shop on Amazon? All right, that's a lot of you. How many people here instead go to smile.amazon.com, and then every eligible purchase, a little bit of that purchase goes to their favorite charity? Yeah. For those of you who are already doing that, fantastic. For those of you who are not yet doing that, I would encourage you to go and support CART, C-A-R-T, CART Fund. Also, the website that I would like for you to go today after we get off is cartfund.org. In the past, I have, you know, brought the buckets in and, you know, put money in the buckets and all that stuff. And I'm not sure if your club is still, you know, gathering stuff together and cutting a check to card, or however you want to do it. But there's actually a much easier way. I can actually show you how to go to a portal and do a direct deposit today. And before I issue that challenge, were there any other questions or comments today?
Gary, what's the difference? And I think you've spoken to this before with diagnosed dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah. So, Sam, one of the things about what we know about dementia is it is a symptom of Alzheimer's, but it's also a symptom of vascular dementia. It's a symptom of Lewy body disease. In some cases, it's a symptom of Parkinson's. And all of those diseases have similar ties together. And so the research that we're doing for Alzheimer's in some places, we gave a grant 2 years ago to a gentleman who basically said, you know, I'm doing the same research to combat Alzheimer's and Parkinson's because they're that closely related. So when we think about dementia, I mean, let's be honest. When is the last time, and we've been cooped up right now for almost a year. When is the last time that each of you walked into a room, looked around, and thought, why did I just walk into this room? Yeah, that's not dementia. That's not dementia. That's just one of the things that happens to us. And as we age, Phil's all over that. As we age, you know, naturally we lose a little bit of our memory over time. And again, think about it. You know, I'm sitting here right now. I can't memorize everybody's name here, but I've got a lot of new friends here, right? Think about the thousands of people that we know and just trying to remember their names. There's just so much that we absorb over time that sometimes it can appear like it is dementia because we don't remember somebody's name or something to that extent. But dementia itself is a symptom. And the very first, it was 1901 when the lady's name was Augustus. But Dr. Alzheimer basically took her brain out and saw that it had shrunk probably 30 to 40% from what a normal brain size could have been. And that was the inception of what's going on with this lady who was in her 60s who had no memory of anything and really went downhill. So Alzheimer's itself, you know, someone can die of dementia. And see, for my grandfather, for instance, one of my father's sisters, God bless her, love her to death, she would not say Alzheimer's. That was not a word in her vocabulary. You know, her daddy had dementia, and that's what he passed away from. But when it comes to the research that we do for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Lewy body, or anything like that, obviously we're looking for people potentially who have dementia.
You have
as a characteristic.
Michael Curtis, visitor in the showroom.
Kim, you
All
might
right.
have to mute yourself.
Oh. Well, I was going to ask Gary a question. You said TRAC. What does that stand for? Does it have
I'm sorry?
What
So
is-
TRAC is Trusting Research for an Alzheimer's Cure. Trusting Research for an Alzheimer's Cure. And that's actually a 501c3 as well, that in some cases, especially if we have large donors out there, we will ask them to maybe make a contribution to CART and then maybe a side contribution to TRAC as well.
Who?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome, Kim. And no, Kim, that was not dementia that caused you to not unmute or mute when you were thinking about asking me that question. Any other
Gary,
questions before my challenge?
Yeah, go ahead and share your challenge.
All right. Listen, I'm going to tell you what, this is the first time I've done this. I made a New Year's resolution, and that was to resolve to make no more resolutions. But one of the things that I did want to do when I do these meetings this year, I'm not getting out like I used to be able to see clubs in person. But occasionally when I visit clubs, even like this, that have been true CART champions like the Thomasville Club, I'm starting a match challenge for this today. If everyone on this Zoom today will pledge, just pledge, and this is something that I'd like for you to send an email to your, Hope, would this go to you? Are you a good contact for this thing? Okay.
Kim, actually send it to Kim.
We're going to send it to Kim. Kim is going to remember
the one they mute.
To get this, to get this information to me. If everyone in this Zoom meeting today will pledge to give at least $10 today to CART, I need 100% participation. Carrie and I will match up to $100. And because I'm blessed to work for an awesome company like Thrivent, they actually offer a double match too. So we'll turn that into them and they will match for $200. However, this is where it gets good. If the dollar amount of all pledges ends in an odd number, think about it. It's got to end in an odd number. No secret communication, Karen Slade. I'm talking to you right now. I know you're secretly going to say, hey, one person, no. So think about it. If it ends in an odd number, then we will match up to $200 today. And my company will match that up to $400. So shoot an email just with the pledge. I don't know how you guys are going to collect it. Deb, cut it out. Cut it out.
I will bill you.
Bill it.
But listen, here's the thing. You can actually go directly onto cartfund.org. If I was at the meeting today, I don't have a bucket with the little, I've got a little, the little scanner code that you can scan it with your phone, and I could hold it up and each of you could do that and it would take you directly to the website. But it's just cartfund.org. And if you'll just pledge to make a contribution, knowing that 100% of that money will go directly to research. I'm so excited. We'll learn about our new grantees for the 2020 to 2021 year here in April. So I'm looking forward to that. And maybe I can come back later this year and tell you where some of your awesome funds went, and then also share with you how much was matched today.
Awesome. Gary, thank you so much. And right at the end, I know a lot of people are going to have to drop off because we're right at 1 o'clock, but I will repeat that website, and I've got it pulled up. So I'll also tell you, you guys, I'll kind of walk you through what you need to do. So it'd be great if you send the pledge email to Kim and then go directly onto the website to make that pledge or pay that pledge directly. So just quickly, I'm not going to ask for additional announcements since we're running short on time. Kimberly Oliver, so glad you are with us today. Kim Cecil, thank you for arranging that. It's always wonderful to have a guest. Our other guest, Mike King, may have already signed off. Oh, maybe not. But Mike, great to have you with us today. Hopefully you'll get to share with us a little bit more. And I saw a phone number earlier ending in 4480. Will somebody let me know who phone number ending in 4480 is? And you can let me know afterwards. I may have missed them on attendance.
Yeah.
So,
if it's okay, I'm just going to send out an email about the CART. And then that way, if they want to meet the challenge, they can do it instead of them looking up the emails and all that. I'll just send it out on a Zoom. And then if they want to send back, we can just do it like that. That way, email.
All right, Kim, let's coordinate on that. And I will also put the link in there for going directly to cartfund.org. And we'll send that out through PMail and DACDB today. All right, so you guys keep those well wishes and prayers coming for everybody that all of our member news today. And thank you, Ricky Murphy, for letting me know that was your phone number. And if you guys want a little bit more information from Gary, please stay on Zoom call. Otherwise, we will end now with, go ahead and unmute yourselves. We'll end with the 4-way test. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys again next week. So of all the things we think, say, or do first.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it
their friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
Guys. We are officially adjourned.
Gary, is
Yes.
there a way to donate on the CART website without joining the thing?
Yes, I believe so. Are you on the website now looking to
I
make a
just
contribution?
signed off it, but there didn't appear to be.
So Don, I believe there is a donate today tab. And then then it also gives you the ability to, sign in or click in with your DACDB credentials. But if I'm right, Gary, you go to cartfund.org and then you look for that donate today hyperlink.
Correct. And
Of
our
course,
new
you've got to
portal.
have your DB credentials, which most of us have right at our fingertips.
Yeah, I definitely don't know mine. Fortunately, my computer remembers it when I get in there. That's to track Rotarian donations, but I think, Don, there's a way that you can also leave a note to say that I'm with the Thomasville Club and District 7690, and then your club would get credit for it as well.
Okay.
I'm sure Kim will tell us all about it in her note.
Yeah, we will. Kim and I will put that in the email because most of you, your primary email address is your login for DACDB, and your Rotary International ID number is your password. So if you haven't changed it yourself, that's what Kim has set it up as. But we'll kind of work together this afternoon to try to come up with an email that contains all of the information that you'll need.
Right on the I'm on the website now. Yeah, you click in and use your DACDB and your password, or you can click in if you're not a Rotarian, but then it wouldn't go towards your.
But
I
Kim,
think there's a way to leave a note that you're with X Club and District 7690. One of the things that we do, and haven't yet done it this year as well. A lot of times our treasurer will say, "Hey, got a donation from this person. Does anybody recognize this person?" And we can do a search through the Rotary database to find out which club that they were in. It's obviously just for tracking purposes and to keep up with things. If you can go in and utilize the DACDB information, that's a little bit more efficient for us.
All right. So again, Gary, greatly appreciate it. Wonderful program. Always is when you share with us. It's always good information, and and it's always developing. So your message is new every time we hear you, because the research, the developments in this area just continue to make progress. So yes. Definitely, Larry and Kim, thank you for arranging it, and Gary, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.